Spotify, it doesn't give you even any data, any user data. You don't know who's listening to your music. Universal profiles is the exact use case for this. Profile data is completely transparent. We'll know who's listening to our music. What we're going to try and do with Upturn, it's such a big idea, but I think something has to give.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sage. I'm sitting down here with Ledfut, the founder of Upturn. How are you, Ledfut?
Very good. How are you?
I am doing just great. So recently you finally got to launch Upturn. How did the launch go? How are you feeling after that big milestone?
Yeah, the launch was a very long time coming. Put a lot of work into it, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. So it's definitely a bit of a weight off our shoulders. Now we can kind of focus to the future and see what are the features and stuff we want to build for V2.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a big weight off the shoulder as it was. Yeah, a long time coming. And we'll get into some of those features and what might be down the line too later in this. But really curious, what's the elevator pitch for Upturn, right? If you had to sell it to me real quick on an elevator, what would you hit me with?
Yeah, so it's a token generator, best used for, I would say, loyalty tokens, in a sense that if you're an artist or a creator, you can create tokens that you can then distribute to your most loyal fans for engaging on social media, sharing music, buying merchandise or art or digital assets.
Gotcha. So when Spotify emails me every once in a while and they're like, hey, Kings of Leon wants to appreciate you for listening to their music. Here's this option to buy a poster, right? Instead of them doing things like that, right? They could potentially use up and start handing me these tokens, right? Which are solve so much more than sending me an email and giving me a poster, right?
For sure.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely. Cool.
Exactly. And you would assume that these tokens, the value of them would appreciate with the success of the artist. So
Presumably, or, because it's on chain, it's tokenized now, it has all sorts of other value besides just an email, right? If I held Kings of Leon's token instead of getting their email, now maybe when I go to their show or when they hold an event or something like that, there's all sorts of ways they can leverage that, right?
absolutely.
Cool. Now it feels like the idea is pretty straightforward, pretty well needed. I get it, and it's definitely a use case I've heard for a long time. But what was there any big turning point or big revelation that had you come up with this idea, or where was the start to it?
The start was around 2021 when I first came across LUKSO. Obviously, I'm a DJ and I worked in the music industry for years. And coming out of the pandemic, I had to pivot a little bit because a lot of the music industry had been destroyed. And so had my revenue streams. So I thought, it is, when has it ever been a better time to shift into a new industry? I came across the LUKSO blockchain, reached out to Fabian quite a long time ago, around the same time, like 2021, and said, I've got a record label. I'd like to do what I'm doing with my record label, but maybe on the blockchain. He reached out and helped me piece it together a little bit. I guess that was a big turning point when I did speak to him and he gave me the time of day. Um, I knew that I may have been onto something, or at least I could apply my knowledge of music and what the industry needs, its shortcomings, and that kind of thing, and trying to find some solutions with this new technology, which is blockchain.
It's great when you find a project that fits your prior workings and your wants and your needs and your loves, right? And all of those things, and you can continue moving on that, right? It's great for you. And then it's great for people like myself that are using it because I know that you're in the arena. You know that these use cases would help the people that you're trying to serve and help. Now, curious on use case wise, what on the site can you specifically do? And are there any use cases that you wanted to maybe highlight for the people who haven't checked it out yet?
Yeah, I guess on the token generation side, like that is such a simple idea. And that's why we built it, to be honest, because it was like, what can we build that's going to be like the start of our project that's going to help us build into the future? With the token generator, eventually we're going to have a music marketplace where people are going to be able to deploy their own tracks, and the metadata is going to be stored in an LSP7 contract. They'll get rewards from sales of those tracks and plays, all this random stuff. So, and you can imagine someone buying one of these tracks, for example, and being rewarded in loyalty tokens as well. So it's like the token generator is totally necessary. It gives what happens in the future context. But right now, you can deploy a token. And what can you do in our UI? You can essentially select whether you can change bits of the metadata within that token, whether it's like the total supply, you can mint more and you can earn some. You have like creator fees, which are like rewards or royalties. You have burn fees every time there's a transaction, like the creator fee. A small percentage is burned. You can change all the metadata of the token contract within our editor. So once you've deployed the token and the contract actually exists, as the creator of that token and the deployer, you can go into our editor UI and edit all these options that you've selected. That's quite novel. I like to call it like a no-code token generation. The ability to amend the metadata is something that's quite new to us. And I think we probably haven't even realized what the use case will be eventually, but eventually I'm sure something will come up that nobody really realized was possible. And that's the power of LUKSO. It's such early days that we don't really know what these standards will be used for in the future, but it's exciting for sure.
Yeah. It's more like just put it out into the open and see what happens with it. Playing around the site, I think, the quick toggle ons for changing things of, is it mintable? Is it not? Is it burnable? Is it not? Right. It makes it, just like you said, no code token generator. It makes it really easy for myself, at least. And presumably the people that definitely don't know how to do this stuff, just the toggle ons, is going to be very helpful for them. My favorite part about your site, aside from all of those token mechanisms, is obviously the music. The little iPod in the corner there is great.
Thanks.
And yeah, being able to, update that music on a monthly basis and rotate new artists in and give people exposure on your site, I think is a great idea too.
Yeah, I love it as well.
Yeah. Now, do you have any specific favorite use cases that you really can't wait to see play out? Or is it just like, put this thing out in the wild and see what people do for it, or anything you're looking forward to?
Well, yeah. So kind of what I expected happened. We have a couple of people launching their tokens very soon. We had Tiberius, who was the first token to be launched on Upturn, which is an amazing event. I also had the Run token with Upturn, which is like a PO app, I guess. Everyone who was there for the first few days was able to just post on the Twitter post or the X post, and I'm going to be distributing those tokens to them. That post I did on Upturn got 123 comments on it, which is just showcasing the power of this idea. You just create a token, you tell everyone that you have this token, and it boosts your following. People can earn it. I've got this post or this new track. I want you to share it to everyone. Everyone who shares can get 100 of these tokens. I also think digital assets have got to this point where everyone's so focused on buying something and then it potentially appreciating in value, or buying something. But what about earning? Earnability is only really talked about when you're talking about yield farms and all this kind of stuff and staking. I really think if we're going to make this, bring it to the masses, it has to be available to everyone. It shouldn't be elitist. It shouldn't be excluding people who don't necessarily have the funds to buy a $20,000 NFT. So I think giving this earnability idea to businesses and creators and artists to be able to allow their fan base to earn and work with them and support them in the same way, totally separate to any platform, is awesome. You don't rely on, I'm going to send you this Spotify link and send it to 10 of your friends, and then they send it to 10 of their friends. You will directly get rewarded from being outside of Spotify and outside of these centralized entities that just suck all the revenue and all the life out of the creative industries. Streaming was really just a band-aid solution to the problems that we caused with LimeWire and Napster. We stole all the revenue away from the record labels, essentially, right? And they couldn't sell CDs, which were the thing at the time, and everything went digital. So people were just like downloading all these tracks online and just burning them to CDs free of charge. That was a massive problem. Obviously, the record labels weren't getting paid, but artists weren't getting paid as well. And then along came these kind of small revenue generating models like Spotify, who were like the saving grace for the record labels. So they're still controlled by all the record labels. Like the record labels are still making all the money. They make 80 or 90% of total global music revenue. So supporting those guys is not supporting artists at all. I don't care like how you package it. Driving people to their site or trying to get them to share or add to your playlist. I think all of that has to be burnt down, and we really need to bring back the idea of music being scarce and collectible. So like when it was a CD or a vinyl, there's so much value in you having that asset. The only way that will change is if we bring the market to the music again, because right now there's no value to music. Music is valueless. Essentially, you pay $15 a month at Spotify. You have 1,000 tracks in your playlist. You play once, whenever, and the artist gets paid 0.0006 cents per play. So if there comes a time where artists are receiving more revenue from these decentralized models, that's when we're going to see the shift, because it'll be like, okay, I'm not going to upload my music to Spotify anymore because I've made $0 from Spotify, and every time I upload a track to X platform, whatever it is, not the X platform, but any platform, when we upload the music to this platform, I make $100. You know what I mean? Or $1,000 or 10,000. I think, yeah, having that direct fan to artist communication, being able to interact with each other. Like Spotify, it doesn't give you even any data, any user data. You don't know who's listening to your music. If it's anyone, they've probably got some stream farm in the middle of nowhere streaming billions and billions of plays. It looks like there's plays on their platform or something like that. It's just, there's no real data there. It's just made up. Universal profiles is the exact use case for this. Profile data is completely transparent. They're on the blockchain. We'll know who's listening to our music because it's going to be recorded. So I think, yeah, when something like that comes out, that's going to be a real game changer. I think that's what blockchain technology and what we're going to try and do with Upturn, it's such a big idea, but I think something has to give. And yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
sorry, big spiel.
No worries, dude. Yeah. It revolves around a common theme, right? Of bringing the power back to the individual. And that's not just the individual listener, but the individual artist, right? It's getting it out of the hands of Spotify and out of the hands of Ticketmaster and out of these kind of big hands that make it so both that data and the revenue from it doesn't go to either the user or the artist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bringing the power back there is great. And good to see you guys fighting for that at Upturn for sure. Now, couple other random questions. I think one thing would be, how does the mint passes play into Upturn?
Yeah, so essentially the mint pass is a requirement to deploy one token. I've released those over the course of about 6 months. At the start, they're like super, super popular. We had some really awesome sales. Like one of them sold out in like a half a second. It was just such awesome times. And then we kept releasing, and we did some collaborations with District, MetaHeads, Keys. I did that for about 6 months. So we got some really good like market data on demand for the actual product. Whether that was like high demand of Upturn or whether it was like people actually wanted to deploy tokens is like two different things. They retain their value. So it's not like you use it on the site and it burns and you never get to use it again. You personally don't get to use it again. But the value that it has in which it can allow you to deploy tokens on Upturn, a token, is still active when you sell it. So you can sell that to anyone and they can just go deploy a token as well. So the resale value should be retained. And there was a lot of umming and ahhing, ups and downs. So many people had their opinion on it. Like some people saying just burn the token, it's a good like business model. But I don't think the token generator isn't my long-term business plans for Upturn. It's more like get people using the token generator. It's a good indicator of demand for our platform. So yeah, I've got to get mint passes out there in people's hands so people start using them, right? And if it's the same as the opposite, like if there's demand for them, I'll make some more, but if they're also not changing hands, I'll also make some more as the community gets bigger and there's more interest in it. I think the Genesis collection, there's a few sales last week and it's 35 LUKS now or something, or 40 LUKS. Like they're going higher and higher. So I think if that trend continues, I should be deploying some more maybe next year or something.
Cool. Yeah, so still some available on secondary or at least around mint price. So if people want to get in, want to start minting tokens on Upturn, totally can. Love that.
Yes. I think the keys one was the highest distributed as well. I think there's 200 of them or so. I think they're going for about 2 lux at the moment. So if you want to get in like super cheap,
Yeah.
you can snap them up for nothing.
$7 and you can go mint yourself some tokens on Upturn. Great.
Yeah.
Cool. So as we come to a close here, I know you mentioned the token generator is not what you see Upturn long term. Do you want to do any mentioning of maybe what's coming, new features, what's coming, where you envision Upturn being long term?
Yeah, I really like the ideas. Obviously, you've seen the aesthetic. It's like vintage Mac OS, and it has that degen feel to it. And I do like the idea of these like pump.fun sites. What I don't like about them is the I don't know. They obviously follow like there's these hype trends. Every time one gets released, there's a unicorn Uru site as well. Meme.market came and is gone, I think, now as well. So I think, yeah, they're just going to follow these like hype trends. So I want to try and copy that model because it's such a cool model, like just marketplaces in general, right? So, but make it more legitimized. Essentially, my idea is just to have a simple music market, similar to how you would have Beatport or like the iTunes store or something like this. I have to find some old school iTunes store UI design so I can rip it off. And yeah, I think these are like cool ideas that are from like yesteryear, but can be rebranded in a decentralized manner as a DApp on the LUKSO network. I think it would be good because there's nothing that exists yet that's so niche. And yeah, so I think we'll have to create like a new LSP7 that allows you to store like all the track metadata. And then it'll just be finding like willing artists who want to distribute their tracks to our marketplace and try and sell them on the open market. I think that is a really sweet idea. So, and then try and like memify it as well. Have some fun with it. Maybe put some like limits on there. So there's only a few hundred available. It's an exclusive. It'll never get released anywhere else. And maybe you can like download the stems and remix it yourself or something and then re-upload it. And it's a derivative of the original, like something cool like this. That's something that I'm passionate about. I love music. So I think that's something I could see myself long-term building on the site. And it makes sense. I think there's enough room for it. And having something like those pumped up fun ideas, but a little bit more down to earth and legitimate could make sense.